town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the back, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, ha, you can whip.
Before we start this video, I'd like to give a huge shout out to a few people. The first person being Jake from Maple Airsoft Supply. So this was sent to me to review. That being said, being impartial when I talk about it. I would also like to thank Christmas Mar. Now, he has actually helped make a new YouTube background for me, which is the great retro themed one. So if you really like really dank memes that may or may not be demonetized by YouTube, you should definitely go and check out his videos because they are incredible and they are some of the funniest videos I've ever seen. What is going on, guys? It's the Banana Wrangler 5000 here, and today I've got another video for you guys. Now what this is I'm going to be reviewing the Maple Airsoft Supply Marauder Aeg. Now this is the other AEG that was recently released by Maple Armouries, and it is the AEG which is the more budget-minded and, in my opinion, one of the best starter AEGs for a new player. Yeah, so here's the AEG. This is the Maple Airsoft Supply Marauder Aeg, and as you can see, it is very similar to my Maple Airsoft Supply Blackout AEG. So externally, the differences are the receivers. Now the receivers are polymer or plastic, and you also have a different sling plate back here. Other than that, and with the exception of different colored stock, I'm not entirely sure if all Marauders came with these stocks, but yeah, this is the difference between the Blackout and the Marauder. One thing I'd like to note is that the Marauder does not have engraved receivers. That's one thing I talked about on the Blackout, is the Blackout does have engraved receivers, whereas on the Marauder it does not. Starting up at the front, you have the same flash hider as what is on the Blackout. So with this flash hider, you can attach attachments like a suppressor, 14mm counterclockwise thread. Yeah, so one thing to note is that the Marauder actually has a slimmer barrel than the Blackout AG. I actually like this because with the Blackout I found while it wasn't impossible, it was slightly difficult to attach M-lock segments, whereas with this Marauder, while I have not tested it, it looks much easier. The handguard is actually the same on the Blackout and the Marauder. So everything that I loved about the Blackout rail, get it on the Marauder rail. It's an incredibly solid platform, and I really like how there are the sling attachment points both at the front and the back on either side. It is, like I said in the previous review, it is a 10.5-inch rail with the 12.5-inch barrel. On top, you've got the same sights on the Blackout and the Marauder. I talked about how I didn't like the sights on the Blackout, but I mean, for what you get with this AG, still an incredible product. Moving down from the sights, you have the dust cover and the charging handle. Pulling the charging handle flips open the dust cover, and there's a faux bolt that covers the hop-up. You can access the hop-up by pulling the bolt back, and you can access the SHS rotary style hop-up. Okay, so moving down, we have the receivers. Now these are polymer receivers, and they're actually really high quality. They feel really good compared to my Blackout AEG, which cost an extra $150. So one difference is between the Blackout and the Marauder is there is a different sling plate. On the Blackout, there is a sling plate which allows to attach your sling at the rear end of the lower receiver. However, this is not present on the Marauder AEG. And with the Blackout, the castle nut can be moved. However, on the Marauder, it cannot. The buffer tube seems to be a polymer buffer tube, and the castle nut is molded on, so it is not possible to move it. Yeah, so moving back here, we have the stock. The stock seems to be about the same quality as the Magpul PTS one, and it's flat dark earth. I think that's a really cool addition, kind of spices things up, changes the Blackout and the Marauder just a tiny bit. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure if all Marauder AEGs come like this. However, I think it's cool that the one that I was sent did come like this. So the Marauder has the A2 style grip just like the Maple Airsoft Supply Blackout Aeg. Before we get into the internals, let's talk about the externals. Overall, for a $250 Canadian gun, I am incredibly impressed. The upper rail feels solid. While it is polymer, I would still be willing to mount optics on that. The receivers do not creak. The grip is strong, it's a good grip, and the stock works well. While there is wobble, it is not noticeable, and like with the Blackout Aeg, it can be fixed with just a few layers of electrical tape. Yeah, so one thing I'd like to note is on the front of the receiver you can see what looks like a mold line. However, that could be fixed with just a tiny bit of sandpaper. Just something I thought I'd point out as it is there, and this is a completely honest review. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the fire selector switch. Now, I really liked the Maple Airsoft Supply Blackout Aeg for its fire selector switch. The fire selector switch on the Marauder is the exact same as on the Blackout. You have positive clicks when you enter safe, semi, and fully automatic. On the top, you have a cool charging handle. Okay, so moving into the internals. Now, when I reviewed the Blackout Aeg, I was impressed with it because of its internals. And the same goes for the Marauder. These are both incredibly cheap AEGs, however, they have incredible performance out of the box. The performance of the Blackout, one of my friends stated that it outperformed his Crytac out of the box. Now, I'm not saying that it's best gun on the market, that's for you to decide. But out of the box, even just for the price, it comes with incredible performance. So just looking, I haven't opened this gearbox up, so I can't say, but the hop-up and the barrel look to be the same as what is in the Blackout. Now, moving back, you have the gearbox. The gearbox seems to be slightly different, slightly darker than the Blackout AEG's gearbox. And that's not where the changes finish. Now, the gearbox, I do believe it is quick change spring system, but then inside you have polymer air seal components. Now, I'm interested to see what the FPS variance is on this AEG, to see how it changes, how it differs from that of the Blackout AEG. I will also be filming the accuracy segment and the rate of fire segment in this video. And so for the firing segment, this sounds a lot, if not exactly like the Blackout. So I'm super happy to see that the shimming is still there. The trigger response is still there. I've tested this with an 11.1 volt 30C LiPo, and the trigger response for a $250 gun is absolutely phenomenal. So some of the feedback that I received in the previous video is, how much does this gun weigh? Now, I want to make the most informative videos for you guys, so before filming this, I weighed the Maple Airsoft Supply Marauder Aeg, and it comes in at just under 4.7 pounds. So it's an incredibly lightweight AEG, if that's something that you're interested in. So to round up the internals, which in my opinion is what makes this gun shine, the Maple Airsoft Supply has 13:1 gears with a 9-tooth bevel, a ZCI by the looks of it, 22 TPA motor, a full setup of polymer compression parts, and a SHS rotary hop-up, a Jeftron inline MOSFET, as well as a tight bore barrel with what looks to be a ZCI bucking. It also has the quick change spring system. Next, we're going to cover the high cap. So I rarely use high caps, however, for purpose of this video, I'm going to do a quick overview of the high cap. So at the top of the magazine, you do have the trap door. So this is where you fill with your BBs, and generally these magazines hold about 470 rounds. To operate this magazine, you wind the wheel on the bottom and you pull it towards the front of the gun. Without further ado, let's get into the shooting test as well as the FPS variation.